Welcome to Direct Approach, a bi-weekly podcast hosted by Wayne Moorhead, filled with timely insights, fresh perspectives, and actionable takeaways from your direct selling executive peers to help fuel the growth and evolution of your business. On this episode, Wayne is joined by the founder and CEO of Vida Divina, Armand Puyolt. Armand is an inspirational leader who has found tremendous success both as a distributor and now as the leader of his own company. Armand will share the remarkable story of how direct selling changed his life. He'll also reveal the surprising growth strategies fueling Vida Divina's success in Hispanic and Latino communities. Armand is a legendary network marketing leader, multi-million-dollar earner, and consultant. His goal is to help as many people as possible, and he has built a culture at Vida Divina based on deep respect for customers and distributors. So if you are seeking new ways to tap into the Hispanic and Latino growth opportunities, you'll find the answers in this powerful new episode of the Direct Approach podcast. But before we begin, we'd like to thank this episode's sponsor, PayQuicker. Your business moves fast, but is your money keeping up? PayQuicker's award-winning solution lets your business make payouts across the globe instantly. Send payments to over 200 countries and territories in more than 80 currencies through PayQuicker's secure API, with funds available to spend immediately. PayQuicker is a fully customizable white-label payment platform, allowing you to offer branded debit cards, instant virtual cards, global bank transfers, mobile wallets, cash, and more. Plus, you get their bank-grade security and global compliance coupled with multilingual account support so you can focus on growing your business. Start paying your sales force instantly with the largest global payout provider to direct selling organizations. Because faster payouts to your distributors means they grow their business and yours faster. Learn more today at payquicker.com. Now let's welcome your host, Wayne Moorhead, and his guest, Armand Puyolt.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DSN's Direct Approach podcast. As always, I'm your host, Wayne Moorhead, and today's guest found direct selling early in life, becoming one of the channel's top field leaders, and over the past several years has founded and grown a direct selling company, becoming one of the channel's top corporate leaders as well. I'm excited to welcome Armand Puyolt, founder, president, and CEO of Vida Divina. Armand, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I've really been looking forward to this. You were kind enough to be on one of the DSN webinars, and that was the first chance I really got to hear you speak. And your story is so incredible and so inspiring. Growing up, you experienced some significant challenges, but you also found significant success at a really young age, thanks to direct selling. And I'd love for you to share a little bit about the path that led you into the channel.
Well, it's pretty simple. When I was younger, I went through very hard times, not because most people would feel their hard times. For example, I would live with a single mom most of my life, and we ended up losing every apartment that we found that we were living in. Sometimes we were living out of a car. Sometimes we didn't have nothing to eat. So it was a very tough time. A lot of people would not notice that, but I was old enough to notice it because previously to moving with my mother, I was living in Mexico City with my grandmother, where she was pretty well off. So I was able to note when I came back to the United States, at the age of 9, I was able to see the difference basically in the lifestyles that we were living at that time. I got to the point where we were living and moving so oftenly that to me, it grew an ambition to grow friends pretty quickly. And I was able to speak to, I think that's how I learned to recruit so well and to talk to people, because I had to make new friends all the time because it was a new school, new place, new everything. If I didn't like the way I looked or presented myself in one place, next school I was presenting myself in a totally different way and everything else. So it went through a cycle like that until I remember I got to high school, and we finally moved during my freshman year east of Los Angeles. It's like 45 minutes east to a city called Ontario, California. And one of the things that to me that I did not expect, because at this time I didn't want to make friends no more. I didn't want to, but I generated a few friends that I didn't want to lose no more. I didn't want to move. I didn't want to do nothing. And when I noticed that we were already delinquent in rent money for wherever we were staying at that apartment, it moved a little bit of me to do something different. to find something for me to do. I was invited to, well, I wasn't invited. My mother was invited to a home party. And I had no idea what network marketing was. And I was about 16 years old. And since I had a vehicle now at that time, my mom's was broken. She asked me to drive her there. So I drove her there. I stood in the back of the room, saw all this stuff they were selling. It was crystals and pots and pans and all this other stuff, which the people picked up cups and said, my God, he goes, I don't have this model. This model is like last year's. And to me, it sounded like comic books, like collector items. And how do you get this? And people really want this stuff. I went to the front of the room after the meeting was over, and I talked to the young lady who was doing the home presentation. And I asked her, and she was not rude, but very direct, and said, if you need something, here's my brochure, here's my number, call me. And that's not what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear, where's the warehouse? Where do I go and buy product at wholesale and bring it so I can sell it? And she didn't want to let me nothing. I mean, it was just like, here, my number, call me if you need anything. A few weeks down the line, I was very angry at that situation. I thought maybe she thought I was childish or little kid or whatever it is at 16. So I went to a swap meet, a flea market, and when I was at a flea market, walking around, because when you're poor, we buy our boots at the flea market, really nice ones, at a better price, and, our shirts and everything that we can, So I was walking around, and as I'm walking around, I noticed another young lady selling the same items. So I walk up to her and I asked her, and I literally told her, I was like, I have customer base for this product. He goes, if you tell me where I can buy it, I won't come and compete against you. I just want to know where I can buy this wholesale so I can sell it. And she brings out this 3-ring binder with all these photocopies of paper and opens it up and took her time to literally go like, well, I don't know how it is. And she's looking for like information, like she's never seen it before, this 3-ring binder, like it's like brand new to her. But she was able to find things and point out and answer my questions, took care of her customers, came back to me. We took almost a full day just sitting there and talking, to the point where she said one thing that caught my attention, because I was like, look, I just need to know where the wholesaler is, and so I can buy a wholesale, so I can retail it. And she goes, if you join me, if I sponsor you, you get the same price as I do. Same wholesale, same everything. You get exactly like I do. And you sell it for the same retail. And I'm like, what? It didn't make sense. It just didn't make sense. The word sponsor didn't make sense. The buying at the same time, I was used to, if I buy more volume, I would get it cheaper, and a lot of different things like that. So finally, I joined the business. I signed up, and she signed me up. And one of the reasons I signed up with her was, she was kind enough to just give me the time and belief that, instead of ignoring who I was or how young I was or anything else. So I literally joined this company, and within 3 months, I became the West Coast #1 sales rep for that company without even trying. It was just, I just couldn't believe how quickly and how much sales we were doing. So I was invited over to a convention in the East Coast. I remember it was, I believe, one of the Carolinas at that point. And we showed up to this convention center. It was Charlotte, actually, in the Charlotte Convention Center. And we showed up to this convention center, and I looked at the room, and it was just women in the room. It was just like, I couldn't see one man in there. And then they asked me to stand on stage and explain to them how I did it and how I became the #1 sales rep. And I was up there, and literally the room got so quiet when I was up there, like you couldn't hear a peep. It was like, I was like a deer in headlights. I was just frozen. I felt cold. I felt unwanted. I felt like, I don't know if you guys ever felt something like when you go into a place and you're not welcome there, everybody's looking at you a certain way. That's how I felt. And it was very intriguing in the way that, I just wanted to finish what I was saying and leave. As a matter of fact, as soon as I finished quickly, got off stage, walked right out of the room, I left the trophy, beautiful trophy, on stage. And I left and went out the room and went out the convention center and kept walking until I found a coffee kiosk. My first mentor showed up. I mean, he literally just sat down next to me, and his name was Sean. And he sits down and he goes, Armand, I saw what you said and everything else. You're doing everything perfect. I saw the way you marched out, and that's the reason I came after you. He goes, I just want you to know that everything you're doing is right, but you're missing one thing: residual income. When he did that is when he pulled out actually a napkin from the table with a pen. It actually did a napkin presentation for me that I've never seen in my life, like with little balls and lines and everything else. And I started to understand what he was telling me. And I'm like, you do this? You're working. I only saw women in the room. He goes, no, my wife is one of the top reps here. I'm in another company. It was a telecommunications company at that time. And he started explaining to me, I was like, explain a little bit more what you're doing and what it is and how do you know and how did you grew in this? And, the story short, I moved on with him and I moved to this telecommunications company. And I duplicated everything he did. As a matter of fact, my first meeting that I did on my own, I called myself Sean because I was duplicating word verbatim his presentation. I said the same dumb jokes that he did. And so that's how I got started. And I think I was in the right place at the right time with the right people who taught me well, because I could have fell into the hands of somebody who didn't know the industry, didn't know what they were doing, and I could have been doing nothing. Just as simple as that.
That is incredible. And I was taking a bunch of notes while you were talking. There's some really key things I want to kind of circle back on and highlight. One of the things that I find so interesting and inspiring about your story is really that those skills that we develop early on to overcome challenges often become our superpowers later on. What we perceive as this thing that's tough to overcome, we build up this muscle memory to then, overcome those and other challenges, as they come into our lives. Another really interesting aspect was, you spoke to the first distributor at that first company, at that party at the house. And from what you said, she sounded a little bit dismissive and maybe you were too young. And so didn't really want to spend the time, just kind of handed you a brochure and a card. What a missed opportunity that was. But you found somebody that took the time, that spent a day with you, and how amazing that was for her and for you. She took the time, she planted the seed. And even the mentor, he didn't have to walk out of that room, at the convention to come find you. He could have stayed in his seat, but taking the time, seeing the need, seeing the individual, to come and talk to you. Again, the fruits that manifest for you and for his business down the road, I think is truly amazing. I just thought those were some really inspiring, some really interesting aspects to your story. I appreciate you sharing that, and all of those experiences led to something really incredible. As you had mentioned, you had built an incredibly huge direct selling business, multiple companies, become one of the top earners in the industry. And I'm curious, what was the catalyst to going and starting your own company and shifting from the field side to the corporate side?
I never wanted to be a CEO. I never wanted to be an owner of a company. In a previous company that I was in, I saw changes in the ownership. And because of the respect I had for him and his family and everybody else, I figured he's the CEO. He wants to go a certain way. I want to go this way. I'll respect him that he wants to go this way. I'll leave and I'll just go this way. And that's where we broke off. And this was, I'm talking about May of 2016. And by September of 2016, same year, we launched Vida Divina. And to my surprise, I mean, we produced product for about 10,000 people, thinking 5 were going to come in, maybe about 5,000. We had 43,000 people sign up within 3 days. It was just ridiculous. And to me, it was like we were getting calls from IT going, "What's going on? What are you doing?" Because they were not prepared. They were coming back to the offices. They were doing everything, and they're out of Dallas, Texas, so they were moving over there. People that we had in the Carolinas too, because we had a department there, a department over here. Everybody was moving on, scared what's going on. We're dropping companies that we were on the same server. They were just falling. Those servers were just falling everywhere. It just became a ridiculous time because of my error. It's like my mistake, basically. But my mistake became a blessing, because the amount enthusiasm that people had coming in was just ridiculous. And I think the catalyst of people coming to me was not even built by me. It was everybody that didn't want me to take people, didn't want me to, because I never recruited people from the old company. They came to me. Everybody was coming to me because a rumor that they claimed that people were telling them, and that was from their side. So it became that, and I think that was the biggest news that everybody was doing. And since our mom was leaving, everybody was asking, and I was always telling them, I'm not doing nothing. All of a sudden, everybody, when they heard I was going to launch, they all joined. So it was pretty cool. But that was the beginning of other problems. I didn't have enough product.
Sure.
I didn't have, we couldn't manufacture fast enough. Well, every machine that we have that built our tea, it took about 6 months to get a machine because they're all custom made machines. And so we had a line that we wanted to launch that was about 12 different products. We just stuck with one product at that time because we couldn't handle the situation. It was just ridiculous out the door. I mean, that's basically how it happened.
Yeah, incredible, incredibly successful launch. As you mentioned, 43,000 people the first weekend. Within 2 or 3 months, it had surpassed 100,000 individuals enrolled in the company. I'm curious, the kind of, I guess, mistake that turned into a blessing, definitely created a lot of excitement and a buzz. We don't often hear about the pre-launch period. I'm curious, what other strategies or initiatives did you do that helped make that such a successful launch that created so much momentum and excitement?
I'll be very frank. I did nothing. It was just word of mouth that was running around, excitement from everywhere. And to me, I was scared. To me, I was like, what am I going to do? I thought personally, like I said, I thought 5,000 people were going to come in at the most. It's like I never believed more people or everybody was going to believe, or people were going to leave checks more or jump from different companies, because they didn't just come from a previous company. They came from all over the industry, as soon as they were hearing what was happening. To me, that was just, the way I see it is like, I didn't do anything to promote it, but I was blessed with having what we have. And it's like, it just came out of nowhere and out of left field. Because if I would have promoted the way I thought I should have promoted, I don't think we would have had the success that we'd had. It was just a lot of word of mouth. It's just a lot of people talking, a lot of people already making their downlines by paper, and recruiting people. You're going to be position 1, you're going to be position 2, and they're all building all this stuff together already, before even anything happened. So to me, it was that was powerful enough. But that was the gist of it. I mean, I had nothing pre-planned. I had nothing.
Interesting.
And to me, it was more the stress of getting the back office running with the comp plan running, because I had to go through 2 different programming companies. The first one couldn't do it. The second one could. And it was just a stress level of making the products and making sure products are ready in time. And, I was on a different level, stressing for different things, not thinking people were going to come in. I figured, let's just say 100 people came in. Fantastic. I'm not looking to become the next billion-dollar company. I'm looking to become a company that somebody was just going to be happy. I wanted to be that company that, the way I spoke to people basically is like, I wanted to be the company that actually, every promise that a CEO made or a corporate person made, accomplished it. Did that promise, made it right. Because I was in a situation where I was going from company. I told you I was very upset before before I met this other gentleman. And because of that, I was like not very happy about the industry, because I was lied so many times. And by them lying to me and me believing it, I went and lied to other people, repeating the same information. And to me, that hurt more, because now you're hurting your reputation, because now it's not the owners of those companies that are lying, it's you. So I wanted to build basically a company that kind of accomplished all those lies and made them real.
Yeah.
So I can feel a little better at night. So that's what Vida Divina was about.
Yeah, that's a noble cause and driver, to be able to, build the company and run it the way you think is the best way, the way that really means the most to you, especially with your field perspective. One of the questions you kind of touched on this a little bit, all the excitement at the launch. I mean, growth is amazing. It's part of the goals. It's one of the KPIs you want to see, but too much growth too quickly can be challenging and overwhelming. Can you talk a little bit about not only how you overcame from kind of an operational, these challenges with growth from an operational perspective, but also keeping the field engaged and excited and keeping the trust there? Because again, if you run out, you have a huge launch and run out of inventory or systems crash, it can potentially damage trust with current and future distributors. So how did you help keep the field engaged during this time of challenge?
I think, and I'll go a step further than that because other things happen also because of the same situation. Within those first 3 months, we did over $23 million in sales. So it was already out the door at the gate. We were really building and creating a lot of sales, that we were not expecting. Problem was we weren't able to accomplish to hand those products over as quickly as we wanted because of the delays and making. So we had people actually making product by hand, and we had people literally like at my corporate office, at our laboratory, and sometimes even at our kitchen in our home, we're making product like we just with a spoon and everything because there was not enough machines to make what we needed, and we were just desperate at that time. One of the things that I think people have to understand is that you don't expect a lot of things, that to happen. Having a lot of people, coming in, because it was like 63,000 people the first 3 days. It was 43,000 for the first 3 days, 68,000 by the seventh day, and it was over 100,000 by the end of the year. And it starts slowing down because we couldn't, fulfill those orders as they were expecting. So with that came a lot of issues with the field. And at the very beginning, my English market was very, very strong. I mean, we had the first double diamonds, triple diamonds, and the regular diamonds were actually English market leaders that, that's basically what I always led in the majority. But the Latin side did something very different because I was very truthful with what's going on with people. I was like, we're going to have to wait. There's going to be a delay, blah, blah, blah. And Latin people were like, we'll wait. Don't worry about it. We're here for you. Anything you need, we believe in, we believe in everything. We believe in you. So that kind of put more pressure because if you wanted to throw the towel at that point, you're like, these people are counting on you. You can't do that. And the English market kind of left, like it just disappeared little by little, and thought, there were rumors started like, and I think it started from all over the industry, like they're going to fall, they're going to, it's going to just crash, and you're going to stay with, with the product in your hand, and everything's going to be gone and everything else. So the English market kind of dissipated at that point. And the Spanish market kind of stuck around. Now, the other issue that happened at the beginning of the year is that Visa, MasterCard kind of put us on a blacklist, and they put us on this blacklist because the amount of sales going through were just ridiculous. And they thought we're fraud. It was like a fraud issue. Plus, there was a high level also of chargebacks coming through at that moment. It's just, and to me, that was very devastating. And I remember my bank accounts being frozen. It's like, I thought that was over. When they freeze your bank account, you can't sell anything because you have no Visa Master because you're selling it. And a lot of people are saying that they're not getting their product. There's issues, bigger issues that people can imagine that can happen. And at that point, what ended up happening was that I just, out of my own personal bank account, I started paying everybody's commissions, even if they didn't get product, even if they didn't do it. I was like, if I'm gonna have to close the doors so soon, at least I'm gonna leave not owing anybody anything. That was the goal. And so I started paying. By the second month and a half after that started happening, Visa Master opened the doors again, and they took us off that list. And they actually apologized with a beautiful letter saying, we're sorry. We thought, we investigated, and you're not what we thought, and here you go. Go on. From that moment on, we were able to explode out. And by that time, we had machines in, brand new machines that we had ordered from Europe, from Germany, and a lot of Japanese machines that had ordered. By that time, we were just full rocketing everything, and from there we have not stopped. So growth has been tremendous from that. Just from that moment on, I think we hit the DSN top 100 companies in the world at 81 at that point, that first year in. So we're very happy, and we just kept growing from there. Next year, we're, I think, 64, and then right now, and we're doing phenomenal. I never, even in my dreams, I could fathom that we'd be at the level that we are at so quickly.
That's incredible. I want to touch on, you certainly didn't have to, meaning you weren't required to pay commissions out of your own pocket. But I think the fact that you did that speaks so much to your leadership style. And I know we're going to talk about leading with love here a little bit later in the podcast, but I have to think that word spread of that, and that created an immense amount of trust. But again, thank you for that example. I think so many of us can learn so much from even that single example right there. Another really interesting thing is you found your audience. You had started kind of marketing, broadly, and then you started resonating for one reason or another. You started resonating with one audience, with the Hispanic and Latino community in the US. And again, another great lesson here. So many of us don't want to say no to audiences. We want to market as broadly as absolutely possible. And oftentimes what happens is we end up diluting our impact and the effect that we can have. And you saw the audience that it was resonating with, and you made several decisions to double down and focus on that community, especially around, I was amazed to hear about the events, how, they were initially in English, or you had both languages, and now your conventions are Spanish only. Can you talk a little bit about the importance to your business of really focusing on a community and making those tough decisions where you're kind of saying no to other audiences? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, at the very beginning, obviously you don't have big speakers, so you go for the industry leaders that, especially that I know, friends of mine in the industry and people that I know they're phenomenal speakers around the world. And obviously we pay them to be on stage and everything else. So the first couple of years, we had, people that just big names on stage, that really attracted people to our events. And they were small events at that time. I mean, we're talking about 1,500 people at the first convention. It was like not that many people, and then from there, it just escalated to, I remember we went to the Flamingo, like that's gone now, in Las Vegas, but went to the Flamingo for our second convention. I'm sorry, no. We went to Orlando for our second convention, which was pretty powerful. And then we went to the Flamingo in Las Vegas, and then we just kept moving to different places where we could. And one of the things that I noticed is that the amount of translating machines that we were obviously having to put out to people, it was almost 100% translation machines going out to every single person that was out there. It's like, and to me that I was like, why are we doing this in English? If we do it in Spanish, for example, a convention just for the Hispanic market, for example, if somebody had to listen to a translator, it'd be like a few people compared to, the majority. So I was like, spending in production, that saved a lot of money. So one of the things I was like, let's just try it, see what happens. So we end up launching a convention just in Spanish, and we had, I believe, like 3,500 people show up to that one. And people didn't think, as a matter of fact, at the very beginning, they're so accustomed to pick up translators that they were picking up translators anyway because they thought everything was going to be in English. And when they noticed that everything was in Spanish, I think there was a bigger drive for people that, they've never seen that as like, no matter where you're at around the world. For example, you have speakers that would go to Latin America and it'd be in English, and they would have to listen through a translator. So they're kind of used to that. Then, they would go to a convention for any of the awesome companies that are out there in this industry, and their majority are in English, those presentations. And all of a sudden, they're used to that. Now, coming, and maybe they're coming from other companies too, these people, I have no idea, but coming to a situation where they're sitting down and they're listening in their native language kind of resonated, and it just grew a love stronger for what we're doing. I think that's one of the reasons we grow so fast is we're catering to everybody. Like right now, we're catering to the Korean market. So right now, we're creating, to the African market. We have, 2 offices in Africa at this moment, and growing. We have 15 offices worldwide and growing, depending on what it is and what country it is. We respect every single one of these cultures, and we try to build something along with the culture itself, and making sure that they understand that no matter what it is, I'm not going to go up there and force them to listen to a language that they don't understand.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think you and the company have done an amazing job of really getting out and being in the field, being on the ground, not just, quote unquote, phoning it in to some of these markets, but really showing them that you care, really letting them feel the love from you, from the company. And they notice. That makes, it's going to return huge dividends, even though that's not the reason you're doing it. You're doing it to show them that you care. But I do think that is absolutely incredible. And your strategy's obviously paid off. It's grown incredibly, even though I think about 80% of your sales are in the US, primarily in the Spanish speaking. And you've expanded into Latin America. I'm curious, this is a community that so many companies right now in direct selling are trying to create deeper connections with, and trying to really show them the love, the care, and maybe the focus and emphasis that they haven't gotten before, unfortunately. What are some of the things that companies today can do to create greater connection, to find greater success with this community?
Well, number one, you got to put boots on the ground. You have to be in the location. You have to touch people. You have to basically hug people. You'll notice that at my conventions, or I do neutral events also called MLM Guru. And we all these things up in convention centers around the world. We just had one in Cancun, for example, that the whole convention center was just packed with this training and everything else. But you'll notice that after the event, I'll stand in a place and take photographs or hug or listen to every single person that wants to. So sometimes I'll take there 5 hours just after an event into the wee morning, basically making sure that everybody got their attention. A lot of companies, I know they may not be able to do that, but having boots on the ground, it brings a belief system that is much stronger to your company than you can believe. For example, I'm kind of running this like if I was still a master distributor of a company. And to me, as a master distributor, you have to show face for the company. You have to be there. You have to touch people. You have to make sure you do the speeches. You help with the trainings. You do a lot of different things. And I'm a lot of that because of what I've learned through my 30 years in this industry. But I see a lot of companies that their CEO may just show up, or president of a company or a corporate entity will just show up, come in, say hello, and leave. Then you'll find him at the bar. Then you'll find him, somewhere else. He's not at the convention. He's not there. And people would walk out and they'll see them somewhere else and they'll go, why? A lot of companies, they will never show up for these countries because they're afraid of maybe showing up to a country like in Latin America. And they have so many rumors that are, so dangerous and everything else that they're just afraid. And they don't show up for that. They'll be on a call through a Zoom on a screen, and that's about it. So it's very important to, be on the ground with people that'll gain a respect level. And here's a little point about Latin people is that Latin people are committed. And they're not wondering, if you show them love, they'll give you love back. It's just that simple. And the more love you give them, somebody can come in and try to offer them something. It's like, I have this new company, come on over. But if they love you, they're not going nowhere. If they love you, I don't worry. Like, for example, I invite my crew to go to neutral events everywhere. I invite people to go learn and go to neutral events. And people would tell me from other companies, aren't you afraid, like other CEOs will go like, aren't you afraid that people are going to poach your people that are there? I'm like, no. Everybody has an opportunity to do whatever they want, and they can go wherever they want. I'm not going to chase them down, but yet I want them to feel, and if you treat your people correctly, not only will they feel, but they will not leave, because guess what? It's like having a spouse and you love that spouse. Nobody can come in and say, I have this new spouse for you, and change it. Because if you love that spouse, you're not even looking. So to me, that is very, very important.
If you missed any part of the Spring DSU event or just want to revisit some of the speakers and topics mentioned today, replays are accessible in the DSU On Demand library. The library is an exclusive resource for DSN supporter companies, one of the many benefits designed to help keep you and your teams engaged, informed, and one step ahead. If you work at a supporter company, simply log in using your unique company code to access this event's content, plus over 250 presentations from previous educational events. If you are interested in becoming a DSN supporter, you can contact us at support@directsellingnews.com. We also invite you to join us at these upcoming DSU events. The first ever DSU Europe event, located at Pendley Manor in Tring, UK, June 5th and 6th, is open to all active corporate direct selling executives and event sponsors. Please extend the invitation to your international colleagues to attend and learn from their peers. And we hope to see everyone here in the U.S. at our fall DSU event, September 23rd through 25th at the Irving Convention Center in Irving, Texas. Registration is now open and free for both events. Visit dsnevents.com today.
With all of the growth, the incredible growth that you've experienced, obviously complexity follows. So the company's now grown to more than 800,000 distributors, maybe more at this point. My numbers could be a little bit outdated. 58 countries, 13 facilities, over 90 products. With this level of complexity, how do you keep things simple and focused for both the corporate team and the field as well? Is this part of the 5 steps? Can you share a little bit about how you maintain focus in such a complex organization?
One of the things that, and I forgot to touch on the last question, it kind of blend with this a little bit, is that corporate teams, basically, especially in Latin America and Latin people and everything else, one of the things that you have to understand the way they work. For example, in the English market, for some reason or another, I believe they're trained wrong. They're like recruit, and you're building a network of just self-consumers, basically. So you'll have thousands of people who are just self-consumers, so you can hit this major rank. Like, for example, our diamond rank, you'll need 836 people to hit that diamond rank, just consuming 120 points, for example. And I can teach people to sell product and build a network of people who are sales reps and hit those numbers with like 25 people only. Everybody's selling 5 products a day. Everybody's selling, 5 days a week, So you have to understand that, especially if you're listening to me and you're a CEO of a company that you want to go into Latin America, you have to understand that the majority of the people are sales reps. They're used to selling something. They're used to selling gum. They're used to selling something on the street. They all know how to sell. They don't know how to recruit. But the process is, how can you get them to move product? I mean, one single product is the same amount of points in your company as a customer, I would assume. So does it matter if it's a customer buying for you, do you get those points, or it doesn't matter, if you're a rep? So it's like, you have to understand that. And that comes to my 5 steps to success that I've been using throughout, that I formed through all the work that we've been doing, throughout all the system. And then my 5 steps basically means, number 1, you have to have an inventory of product. How much? It doesn't matter. It could be a few products, or it could be a lot of product, but it has to be product you're going to sell. It can't be product you're going to put underneath the bed. It can't be product you're going to put in a closet. It has to be product that you have to sell. And the reason I tell them this is, like, the system of using brochures doesn't work no more. Why? Because the moment you mention, I have this Dixie cup, for example, and this is what it does, and I don't have a product to sell them, guess they're going to go, let me think about it. They're going to go home. The very first thing, as they're going home, they're going to pick up their cell phone, and they're going to go on, and they're going to find it on somewhere online, and they're going to buy it from that first person they see, because people want things now, this time around. So you got to have some kind of inventory. Then we teach people how to prospect. And by prospect, I says, Go out there looking for your, 25 to 50 no's a day and sell product. Just don't talk about the business. Just sell product, sell product, sell product, sell product. The more products you sell, the more prospects you have for the information that you're looking for. From there, we go to step three. Step three basically is follow-up. People say the money's in the follow-up. People understand that. So we design certain questions that we teach people in our reps to say. It could be anything, like, for example, the first question is, did you like the tea? But it could be the same thing. Did you like the juice? Did you like the chocolate? Did you like the milk? Doesn't matter. Whatever it is that you sold them. Did you like the product? And obviously, if they say yes, you continue on with the question. If they say no, usually our answer to them is like, when you try the product, you let us know because you're going to love it. So it kind of pushes them in case they didn't try it, they're just saying no, to kind of try it at that point. And then from there, we teach people to sort through people's questions and sort through them completely to these prospects. So I've said, the money's in the follow-up, your fortune is in sorting. People who learn to sort can become millionaires very quickly. So you teach people, you're going to bring in people who are actually business-minded into the business, even if there are a few, maybe they're 1 in 100, who knows, that you're going to find. But it's going to be very different than bringing in a bunch of people. You don't want to have a network of just no trees. I'd rather have a network of a lot of little trees or a lot of trees in your system. So we teach people how to sort through people. Number 5 is duplicate and go to events and everything else and making sure that you learn how to do that. The other thing I teach people is when you talk about the comp plan, even though everybody believes they have the best comp plan in the world, I teach them to simplify it to 3 things at the most, 1 to 3 things. And the reason I tell them this is like, most people don't understand network marketing, but they don't understand sales. So if you tell somebody, hey, you can earn out of every product you sell, it'll cost you $50, but every time you sell it, you'll earn out of this cup $30. They understand that part. And it becomes simple. They don't have to go like, let me ask the wife, what she thinks. They already know they're going to make some money. They already know that they're going to move some stuff. And you're already telling them that, basically that there's sales involved basically within the company itself. So that's what's helped us and helped our retention to be as strong as it is.
Yeah, I think the 5 steps, I actually watched an interview with you where you outlined that. And I think it's so powerful. I hope everybody goes back and listens to it. And especially that, I believe it was the 4th step around sorting, is that step that's often missed, but to your point, has the most power in creating these personalized experiences, but also knowing where to invest, how to help move people along a journey. I think there's so much power in that. Another aspect that is really, I think, unique to you, it scares a lot of companies, this idea around acquisitions. It's been an important part of your strategy. Can you talk a little bit about what you look for in an acquisition and maybe even kind of the strategy behind some of your recent acquisitions?
Well, what I look for, and it's very funny, it's like, I'm not looking for just a company. I can make products. I can make any product. I got a great manufacturing facility. If you visit us here, we have 10 acres of land that, with 2 major buildings here and a third one about a block away is just production and I mean, we're talking about giant buildings that when you look at them. And inside these buildings, you can walk through, people can actually visit the manufacturing facility. People can visit, the warehousing. People can visit, and they can see everything is real. Now, I can make anything. So I don't look for products. I don't look for, I'm not looking at who has a better shake than I do, and I'm going to go buy that company because of shake. What I look for is, and I think is the secret sauce for this, for growth in any company out there. I look for manufacturing. I look for companies that have manufacturing already. Companies already have products that are legal in certain countries, and they have the manufacturing. And the reason I do that is because even, as you look at it, even prior to COVID, but especially after COVID, the biggest cost in every single one of your products out there is shipping in containers and shipping a container worldwide, wherever you need to go. That becomes your biggest cost in your product at a certain point or another. And for me, how do you make, or how are you going to sell a product for more money than the United States in Latin America? It's going to be very difficult. Or in Africa, for example, or in in Asia, or anywhere in Europe, for example. How are you going to do that? And to me, I found a way. I think it's like makes it simpler. It's just buying a manufacturing facility or a company that has a manufacturing facility. And if they already have legal products, we're already legal in that country. We just continue on their line, better their line, and then run all our products that we can through those manufacturing facilities. So we already have products on the ground. We have products there specifically and everything else. One of the things that I've done, even prior to Vida Divina, I've owned a manufacturing facility for products. And one of the things that I've learned from that is because I've consulted before, and I've consulted a lot, and I still do consulting with some companies, that want it. Right now it's a little harder because I'm a CEO and people don't, unless they're friends of the industry, they'll come and consult with me. But we do manufacturing for other MLM companies. We do manufacturing for other, and it is a beauty where I have manufacturing facilities, let's just say in Latin America, where somebody, let's just say a company X wants to go into Colombia or into Peru, especially, a great market. Well, now we can make the product directly in Peru and they're already legal. It's like, that's like I said, that's the sauce of growth. The less you have middlemen involved, the better the income is going to be. As is, we pay out in our commissions, for example, very high. I think we have one of the, if not the most aggressive comp plan worldwide. But the reason we can do that is because we don't have that middleman. It's like we don't have, we can sell products still at a very low cost, to the pocketbook of every person around the world, and they can still make a lot of money. I'm talking about a lot of money is where they sell a product and still make $30 a product. And to me, that is a big change. 5 products a day, that's $150. It's like, it's life-changing money in Latin America, maybe not in the United States. 10 products a day, that's $300. Some people don't make that a month in Latin America. So the more we can help them accomplish these things, the better it's going to be.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned the pricing. That was one of the things I wanted to touch on. Your pricing strategy is really unique, has been amazing. And again, is I know part of the overall success of the company, but it's important to tailor price points, to tailor products to markets that you're really going after. And I think that's an important example. And I love what you said. I think that's fascinating about the manufacturing and why you really acquire, and also the diversity of revenue that it can create if you have the ability to help, in and out of the channel, but other companies. Super, super fascinating. I'm curious on maybe the product or the brand side as it relates to acquisition. Have you had any key learnings on how to successfully integrate a product or a brand, kind of pulling it into your portfolio?
How do you do it? It all depends on your situation, but I kind of tend to believe that the only way they're going to come over if they try it and they figure out it's better. That's the only way they're going to leave what they have to something better. So everything we try to make, for example, we have all this nanotechnology equipment that we deal with in manufacturing, so we can kind of pull and put in flavors and take out what doesn't taste well and make things phenomenal. And to me, that is the essence of what Vida Divina is, because what we do is we don't try to change the world by bringing in a lot of great different things. We're bringing in things that people may already have, but when they try it, they go, oh my God, this is better. So that's basically what we do. I mean, I don't think we're anything special compared to other companies that have technologies that are phenomenal, and that's why I love the industry, because there's so many companies out there that have so many phenomenal products, and you go like, wow, that how they thought of that, how do you think of this, or whatever it is. But yet at that point you go like, I noticed that they don't know how to push those products, and all of a sudden those companies are closing, and all of a sudden those companies are going away because they weren't aware in how to put this product into people's hands as quick as you need to make sure that you have a growth level that will supersede what you wanted.
That's really interesting. I especially love that last point you made around the importance of context and understanding in successive products. It's not always first to market that wins. It's often first to mind. There's many examples of that where someone launched something innovative and it might have been maybe too innovative, where we as consumers just didn't even understand or probably even have a use case for it at the moment. As you and the company are moving into a different stage in the company's life cycle, what are you doing to maintain the growth and the momentum? How is what you're doing today, how is this strategy different from the early kind of launch and scale strategy?
Well, in my career in this company, basically as CEO, I've learned just like when I was a rep, is in my 30 years in this industry, is that sometimes we have to make jumps that are scary. Sometimes we have to just take that step, even in situations that you may not know what you're doing next. Just like in the past, I've had great mentors that are, in the industry that taught me what I'm doing. Now I looked for great mentors as CEOs, even if they're not in network marketing space. And I'm friends with a lot of great people that are billionaires, and there are a lot of great people that have been very successful. And I think getting into that mindset and asking the questions, because one of the things that, like, for example, when I was a master distributor of companies, I can't go to my downline and say, I feel this is wrong. I feel this is bad. I feel that, because you'll destroy your downline. So I would have to go to friends that were in the same position as me, the master distributors of other companies, and go, hey, what did you do when this happened? And it kind of moves you into a certain direction where you know what to do and what to do next. So to me, that's why the A&MP has been phenomenal, because it's like a family of different leaders from all over in the industry. Over 4,600 companies around the world show up to this, and they're all top earners. So it was nice to sit with somebody who's at your level, and you don't have to worry about, especially if they're friends, and you'd be able to ask questions and kind of give yourself those back and forths between you guys and see how you can better each other. And then I have other people, that are CEOs of companies that I'll give them calls, and we'll have dinner, and then we'll exchange some information. How can we grow? How can we do this better? Because I believe, and this is one thing people go, how can you go to like competitors and make friends with them? Aren't you supposed to hate each other? No, I'll tell you one thing. I see this industry as like a game. This is my sport. It's like football may be your sport, baseball may be your sport, basketball may be your sport. This is my sport, and for my sport, there's different teams in my league, and it's fun sitting with somebody else on a different team and just taking pointers. That's all it is. And in this industry as well, your company is going to be well. That's all it's about. I'm not here to compete against anybody else. I'm not here to take people from other companies. As a matter of fact, if you see our line of leadership that we have, the majority of them, not all of them, there's some that came from the industry, but the majority came from nothing. So I'm not trying to go out there and poach people. That's one of the things that I don't do. I love new people and train them in my concepts and my beliefs, and making sure that they follow my steps and teach my steps. And so as we do that, I think we grow a more clean and more ethical, and a better friendship with other companies too. They're doing almost the similar situations and similar things.
I think that's such a powerful idea and concept. And, I wish all of us would put that into practice more often. But this idea, obviously you're CEO and founder of a large, very successful company, and you still look for a mentor. You still look for advice. You're still open with this kind of growth and learning mindset. I think that's so powerful. And I think when we close ourselves off from new ideas or advice or anything like that, that's usually when we stop growing as people and as companies. So again, that speaks a lot to your leadership style and your philosophy. Kind of moving into the last couple of questions here. I'm curious, as you look back to 2016, what do you feel have been some of the most important learnings as a leader?
To me, it's been the losses. There's been some errors and mistakes. For example, we had a manufacturing facility in Mexico City that we still have, but now it's not manufacturing products. We're filling products for Johnson & Johnson instead. So it's a whole different thing that we're doing there. But at the very beginning, we made juice there. And one of the biggest mistakes that I made was not knowing my product well enough. for example. As it crashed through, it went through immigration. It went through the port completely. Then it got stopped by FDA. The question FDA gave me over one product was, I see you have stevia in the product. Where does the stevia, what cactus does the stevia come from? To me, stevia is like sugar. Stevia is stevia, like whatever, like we purchased stevia for that particular product. Not knowing exactly what that came from, it made me destroy, because we were forced to pay to destroy 2 containers worth, over a couple $1 million worth of product. That hurt. So learning things is very, very important along the way, and it can be very, very, very costly, but I'll never make that mistake again. I've at the very beginning of Vida Divina in 2016, we launched 10 countries at the exact same time. Biggest mistake of my life. I'll be honest with you. I thought it would be cool because all these people are waiting from around the world, not knowing that there's going to be a lot of issues, a lot of legal issues, a lot of different things, a lot of legalization issues, and a lot of different things that I was not counting on. We had a company that was trying to avoid us coming into, and I won't name them, but we had a company in the industry that was trying to avoid us coming into Colombia and a lot of the Latin American countries, that they try to grab our names like Vida Divina, our brands from, and kind of make them theirs and claim they were theirs, so we wouldn't be able to have nothing to sell. So we had to fight that legally until we won. We had to do a lot of different things, to make sure that, but you learn. And what did I learn is, like, for example, we had a building in Colombia that we built the whole building, because we were zero debt company. So we built everything out. Like, we have a beautiful building that we built in El Salvador. We have a beautiful building that we built out in Colombia. We have a beautiful building that we put all over the world. And imagine having a building in Colombia for 2 years and not being able to put your name on it. You build the facade of it, you build the inside, it looks beautiful, like, like better than a bank would, and you can't even put your name on it, and because you don't own the name. And so I learned mistakes. For example, I'll never go into a country before legalizing, having the name, published right, knowing what our name is and everything else, and going forward with that. So it's one of those things, So along the way, there's been a lot of errors that have cost me a lot of money. But I'll tell you one thing, because of those errors, I think I've grown, and I'm talking about physically grown in this company, and monetary grown in this company, because I took the risks. I took risks that people would not take. Yes, we tripped a few times, but guess what? The ones that we didn't trip, we jumped tremendously amount of space. So to me, it's like not being afraid of tripping, not being afraid of committing mistakes, making sure as a leader, we decide on a decision, we're going to go follow through with something and follow through with it. And as we follow through with things, it may be an error, it may be right, who knows? But guess what? It becomes right, you'll jump a very long distance. If you're wrong, you will learn from it. That's all we can do. But, don't wallow in it. Don't, I felt that, we don't, we don't cry about it. We just dust ourselves off and says, you know what, that was fun. Let's try it again. That's all it is.
I love that. It's very, very powerful. It's only a mistake if we don't learn and improve from it. Thank you for that. So last question, I'd love to zoom out a little bit here from Vida Divina and look at the broader channel as a whole. What are some of the changes that you're seeing, and what excites you most about direct selling here over the next 3 to 5 years?
To me is, there's a lot of things I wish we still had and we did that is very, very different than now as an industry. I'm not talking about as a company. I see the industry getting better, but through organizations like the ANMP, through organizations like the DS, and through organizations that are neutral and uniting a lot of these companies together. It's very important because, like I said, if the industry is healthy, we're going to be healthy. And the way I see this industry in the next 5 years, for example, I see massive growth. Why? Because at this moment, I see a situation economically worldwide that's not going to get better. And it's not, as much as we want, things are changing. People are going to start losing jobs again. It's like COVID. When COVID happened, a lot of people closed down their shops. People went home. Everybody said, you go home. This is, you're not going to come to work, whatever it was. Our growth level was 4 times what we had previously because the way we open our doors, the way we were expecting. Now imagine as the economy gets worse worldwide. I don't hope that happens, but let's just say it does. Guess what? If we're prepared for that, the only place people and entrepreneurs are going to look for is the network marketing space. Why? It's an easy place for a lot of people to really go and just find the happiness they're looking for. To me, that is important. So I see network marketing space being the safe haven of the world, basically, in the next couple of years.
That is the perfect idea to end on. Armand, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for your leadership, for your example, for all the lives that you touch. Please give our best to everybody back there at your headquarters there, but also throughout the world. And if you want to learn more, this conversation will continue at DSU Europe, June 4th through 6th in the UK. Make sure you go to directsellingnews.com to learn more. Armand, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you for tuning in. Please take a moment to subscribe and give a 5-star rating and review to help Direct Approach continue to provide more candid insights and interviews for direct selling corporate executives. And don't forget to register for DSU Europe and Fall DSU at dsnevents.com. Secure your spot now. Thank you for listening and supporting DSN and the Direct Approach podcast.